Well, it occurred to me that many of y'all, let me take the hat off, haven't really heard the whole story about what's going on. Um, you may or may not be aware that I've had breathing issues for a lot longer than I've had cardiac issues. Excuse me. Back in Ohio, I used to get bronchitis, asthmatic bronchitis, as my doctor put it, 2, 3, 4 times a year. It was just every year. I would get multiple cases of bronchitis, and I would wheeze and cough and all the good stuff that comes with bronchitis and that lingers forever. So when you think 4 cases of bronchitis in a year means I was almost constantly having bronchitis or recovering from bronchitis. Victoria used to comment at night, we'd be watching TV, and she'd hear me wheezing, just breathing. It's not great, but it's better than it was. So we moved to Texas, 12 years in Texas. Victoria was telling my pulmonologist a while back during an appointment that in 12 years she thinks I've only had bronchitis maybe 3 times, maybe only twice. We moved here to Pierre 4.5 years ago, and it's just basically gotten steadily, progressively worse, to the point that I've been seeing a pulmonologist for nigh on a year now, trying to figure out what's going on. Anyway, sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. So the cardiac issues came up, and of course they kind of relate together in a lot of ways. We are slowly ticking off boxes on what it's not. It's not emphysema. We've eliminated that. We've tested for all sorts of airborne allergens. It's none of those. We still don't know exactly what it is. I think it's COPD, but that's beside the point. But we don't know. We're still investigating. We're still checking it out. And this summer, probably July, early July maybe, late June, Victoria said she thought I should go to Texas for 2 weeks, take a vacation, which I don't tend to take a lot of vacations if I'm not going for a family gathering of some sort. We did go to Mandy's, Texas, last year for Thanksgiving, but we were only there a week. So she said she thinks 2 weeks and see if my breathing improved in that 2-week period. And the pulmonologist thought that was a good idea because that would help us figure out what's going on. The climate in Central Texas is drier. The elevation is much lower. I don't know I don't know why my breathing was better in Texas. I just know those are 2 factors. So we decided, yes, I'm going to go to Texas. We scheduled a vacation, which I'm on now. I'm just not in Texas, in case you haven't figured that out yet. So I was going to go to Texas for 2 weeks. Well, once that was decided, we started having discussions, Victoria and I, about if my breathing improves, what does that do? How does that change things for us? We'd always planned on retiring to Texas, but that could be in 5 years when I'm 67 or 8 years when I'm 70. I mean, so what does it do? Should my breathing improve, which I honestly we'd expect it to do. Which led me to thinking, well, the odds of me going into full-time ministry in Texas are slim to none, and Slim's on his way out of town. I'm not conservative enough. That's Southern Baptist land. There are in Bell County, I do believe it's 2 CBF churches, and that's where I was ordained in CBF. And there are 0 American Baptist churches, which is where I'm licensed and working now. So yeah, probably not going to be going back into ministry. So what about teaching? Could I return to teaching? And I told her, I said, I'm not even sure if my certificate, what it would take to renew my teaching certificate, because I'm sure it's expired by now. And anyway, a couple weeks ago, I guess, she said, it was a Thursday. She's like, go ahead. because I told her I'd kind of started looking, thinking about this a little more seriously. She said, go ahead and start investigating. So I did. I reached out to my friends. I think I may have reached out a little earlier about being references. But on Thursday, I was making those inquiries. Checked my license is actually still good for another year, my teaching certificate. So I don't have to worry about how to renew it because it's active. Clean ISD had openings. I thought, I'm not getting anything this year because school started already. I mean, the Thursday I did this, school was starting the following Wednesday. So it was, I'm looking at, we're laying the groundwork for next year. Okay. My certificate hasn't expired, which changes the renewal. It's a little easier to renew an active certificate than once it expires. So that's where I thought I'm at. I'm getting references together. I'm looking at next year, maybe the year after. Sorry, gnats. Clean ISD had openings. Okay, no big deal. And one of my teacher friends, when I asked about the resume or references, and we're texting back and forth, she's like, we have openings for this school year at the school I taught at if I was interested in this school year. So I ended up talking to the guy who used to be the assistant principal. He's now dean of instruction, but I don't know what that is. And that's an interesting story. And in and of itself, the conversations with Ben Hess. Ben, hi. We were texting on Friday morning. So this is Thursday night to Friday morning. We're texting on Friday morning, and he was telling me, like 2 texts in and he calls. So we're having a conversation, which is a little quicker than I would have done it. But yeah, I tend to have a 3-text rule or 4-text rule. If it's taking 3 or 4 texts and we still haven't resolved or accomplished what we're trying to accomplish, it's time to have a phone call. But anyway, Ben calls and we chat for a few minutes. And there's a new principal that I don't know. And they call it Cub Camp. It's the Union Grove Grizzlies. So they have what they call Cub Camp, where the incoming 6th graders come in. It's like an open house. So they're going to learn a little bit about school, see where their rooms are. So they're a little less frightened when they show up on the first day of school. It's not quite as scary and overwhelming. He said Cub Camp is about to start, and Principal Rainwater had been out of the building all morning. How about we do a Zoom at like 4:45? I'm like, cool, I can do that. So I go on with my day. It was a Friday. I was off. I was doing some work at home. But so 4:45 comes around and I get the Zoom call, and Ben acts like he doesn't even know who I am. It's like total strangers, right? It's like, Mr. Jones, I'm Ben Hess. I'm the Dean of Instruction here at Union Grove Middle School. And with me is Tracy Nilsson, our English department lead teacher. And I don't remember the third person. I didn't know her. I knew Tracy. But they act like they don't know me. And they're reading questions to me. You know, like, what 3 words we use to describe you. I'm like, okay, they're treating us like an interview. We're cool. I've done lots of interviews. And with people I know, I'm not worried about it. I play along. Until the very end, and then I made a joke about the stuff hanging on his wall, and we laughed and quit pretending like we didn't know each other for a minute. Anyway, we get off the Zoom call, and my phone immediately rings. Like seconds after the Zoom call ended, my phone rings with a 254 area code. So I answer it, and Ben's back to his professional. You know, Mr. Jones, is this Mr. Jones? This has Ben Hess, the Dean of Instruction at Union Grove Middle School. We recently spoke about a position here at Union Grove. Do you recall that conversation? Remember that conversation? And I said, oh yeah, I vaguely recall something along those lines. And he offered me the job. Less than 24 hours from my initial inquiries and clicking that button on the Clean ISD website, job site, to an offer. But then I had to wait for the official HR offer before I gave notice. Oh yeah, that was part of the conversation. Is I told him, I said, I've got to give 30 days notice. And school's starting in just a couple days, and I'm in South Dakota anyway. So it's going to take 30 days and change for me to get there. And this is the part that made me feel really good. He said, for someone of your caliber, who knows the school, who knows the culture, who knows the district, and they know I know how to teach ELA, they'll wait. And this was during the Zoom call, and well, during the Zoom call, I talked about the 30 days, and Tracy said, or no, Tracy was on the phone call. Sorry. She's like, we'll get everything ready for you. We'll hold down the fort till you get here. So it was a really uncomfortable, turned out to be 6 days, because it was Friday when he made the offer, and it was Thursday morning when I got the official email, phone call from HR before I could give my notice and tell everybody. So it was a weird week of deflecting when people wanted to make plans, talk about scheduling and kind of deflecting and putting that off. So I gave my 30 days. My last day on contract is on the 13th, Saturday the 13th. But Friday and Saturday are my days off. So actually on Friday the 12th, I will be heading to Texas. Monday the 15th, I'll be doing there's some paperwork that has to be done in person. You know, the Social Security card, driver's license, the I-9 verification form. So I'll do that on the 15th, and then I will be back in the classroom on the 16th. Exciting, scary. Victoria will not be going down, or at least not now. She is Hope Village. If you're not aware, she's been working for a couple years now to get a transition home for ladies leaving the prison here in South Dakota, in Pierre, the South Dakota Women's Prison, to help them transition back into the facility, into society. Research shows that the recidivism rate goes down by like 85% if they go through some sort of a program to help them reintegrate. So that's been on her heart. It's a calling, and that will be opening in the next 2 weeks, maybe before I leave. The last bit of work, it's going to be the upstairs of our house. We turned it back into a duplex. So it's an old Victorian, Queen Anne style, that at one point they had made a duplex, an up and down duplex, and we just turned it back into that, and we can only house up to 6. I say she. Anyway, the last of the flooring was laid last weekend, so it's time to do the final details and all that. Because they'll be opening soon. She can't walk away from that, not right now. So she says a year to 2 years. I'm thinking it's probably more like 2 to 3, but it's not going to happen this year for her to come down to join me. So she will stay here. I'll be coming back to Pierre on Christmas break and spring break and for the summer. So she'll be here. I'll be in there for a year or 2, and we'll make it work. But that's what's going on. So if you hear, I know on other videos I made comments, or people might not know the story behind it. But that's what's going on. That's why I'm leaving. I'm kind of retiring from pastoral ministry because I don't expect to be employed in that capacity in Texas. I'll try to get on some pulpit supply lists and do some preaching now and again. But I'm not going back into ministry at this time. You never say never. I've learned to write my plans in pencil because God can change them. And things happen unexpectedly, like a teaching offer within 24 hours. So that's the story. I get some new familiar places return to Central Texas, to Bill County. returned to Union Grove Middle School. And since now I'm diving headlong into Jeeping culture and the Jeep community, I get to learn a whole lot of new things about an area that I'm very familiar with, but I'm not familiar with that aspect of it. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about a lot of it, to be honest. It's sad to be leaving Pierre and First Baptist, but it's exciting to be going back to Union Grove and back to the classroom and back to breathing without working at it so much. So there you go. That's the story. You've got the whole lowdown, the whole skinny. You know as much as I do at this point about what's going on. So I'll talk to you later. Y'all behave yourself.